Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Envelope. Today I got some really special guests. I got Jeff Farrell and David Mansfield. I'm really excited to talk to you both about the building envelope. You guys have both extensive experience in this field, and it's going to be a really compelling conversation. So how about I start with you, David? Please introduce yourself, give us your credentials, your background, your experience, and anything that's relevant that you think to the building envelope.
Sure, Bill. I'm David Mansfield. I've been with Suprema now for 14 years, just turned 14 years. So getting closer to that 15-year mark, get my button for my lapel for my coat. So 14 years with Suprema. Before that, I was with a consulting firm, Western Regional Manager, WeatherTech Consulting Group out of back east for 15 years. And then before that, I was with a different manufacturer for 15 years. So I've been in the industry for quite some time now. So, and I love it. That's why I'm still in it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Jeff?
So Jeff Farrell, I've been with Suprema for a little over 5 years now, and really enjoy it, selling great products. Before that, I was with a couple of different building envelope consulting firms, so I know a lot about the building envelopes. And before that, I was with a very large general contractor in Portland, Oregon, and I founded a restoration division to go in and do reclads to repairs of buildings that were done poorly, that suffered from construction defect litigation, and then had to do assessments and go get them all rebuilt. So we're here with a lot of experience and knowledge to have a discussion with you today.
Excellent. Okay, so today's topic is building envelopes risks, consequences, and failures. And this is where tiny decisions could impact huge litigations.
Right.
So let's start with you, Jeff. Based off of your experience consulting, building, working with different firms, what are some of the key issues that weren't bad products, but some of the catastrophic failures when it came to the building envelope that you've seen, and how did those transpire?
So there's a couple different things. Product-wise, sealants and flashing. Some of the cheapest products that are out there aren't properly installed or properly designed and integrated with the air barrier assembly to get the water back out away from the building. These are pennies of the job cost. So there's some critical elements to have everything designed, detailed well, and the products properly installed and sequenced in a weather-tight manner to meet code and to meet the manufacturer's installation requirements. If you go to a coastal environment, you have 40-mile-an-hour winds, so a 4-inch back leg of a piece of flashing is critical to prevent that water from capillary reaction going up and over the back of the flashings and being properly sequenced. Installation. You have the lower level entry, like mechanically attached air barriers, pretty much easy to install, and they go on fast with large rolls that are stapled on. Problem is they don't take the time to go in and properly do it, and on an inside corner make sure it's tight inside that corner. So then when the sider goes to put his 2x2 trim board in there, it's tight. He can't get it all the way in there. So he looks around and he grabs his utility knife and he cuts it right up the wall in the corner. That's a transition between fiber cement siding and a piece of wood with a fillet joint sealant that's not properly designed in a dynamic capacity. So those are some of the failures, not to mention mechanically attached means thousands of staple or nail holes, and if a leak gets in, it's not held in place by an adhesive. It runs freely behind the building. So now it's what I would call a pyramid shape. It starts here at the bottom of a window, and 6 feet down it's 4 feet wide, and 10 feet down it's 10 feet wide. And it's harder to find those leaks and keep them isolated.
Yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit. Describe the levels of protection in an envelope when it comes to your first level, your cladding, right? And then often what seals that is, you said, a fillet a bead, and that has a specific dimension and diameter and requirement. And then the second level is what's behind that if there's a rain screen, right, of
Right.
some sort of drain plane. And then the third level is, the weather barrier that literally separates your home from the outside elements. So can you just kind of walk us through how water would penetrate the first, second, and third levels?
All right. So on the claddings, the exterior sidings, it can penetrate through any transition. So a pipe penetration, a window fenestration, transitions from a roof to wall or wall to deck, anything that's beyond the normal straight plane, like a Costco warehouse, doesn't have problems in the walls. Now you go to an architecturally designed building by an architect that's in California, up here in the Northwest, over in Astoria at the coast, and he's going to fail. The overhangs don't have enough projection out for that initial deflection. The cosmetic claddings are for prettiness.
Yep.
Okay, they're deflecting that first major bulk hit of water, vapor drive, air moisture, and wind. Okay, so that's just to stop and deflect it. It doesn't always prevent it from getting further back, especially with the strong winds or at the transition. Say you have a piece of trim board around a window and then you have a piece of siding cement board coming into it. Well, now you have different thicknesses of products, different components of products. They're going to expand and contract at different rates. And just putting a fillet bead of sealant there is going to last maybe 6 months to a year before it fails. So what you really need are dynamic sealant joints with a closed cell backer rod with a 2-to-1 ratio, and I don't want to go scientific on you.
You're good.
But that's the level of detailing you need to get by the architect, or have them bring in a third-party building envelope consultant, which is another layer of the onion. It's another layer of insurance against the potential risk of a lawsuit. So everything's about value engineering and getting it done as cheap as you can, typically, correct?
Well, that's the industry, yeah.
Do you have clients that say, hey, I have endless amounts of money, just do what you want? No. No. You have, I got a budget. Oh, can we tighten it up? What if we go a little bit here? Okay. Well, the things you don't want to crimp on are your building envelope components that keep the air, the moisture, and the water out of your buildings. So cheapen up a little bit on the terrazzo flooring, or cheapen up a little bit on a stucco finish. Don't cheapen up on your building envelope components. So now the rain screen system, that's a furring system that creates a capillary break between the backside of your claddings and the air barrier or sheathing on the wall. And that capillary break allows water that does incidentally get in there to drain down and get out at each floor line with the flashings. Okay? So that's rain screen. If you can do it, it's great. You can also add insulation, rigid insulation on the outside of the building, which has a lot of benefits. If you ask any building envelope consultant, they would love to always do that. And then you don't have thermal bridging like you do at the floor line or at electrical outlets or at the window fenestrations, because you have a continuous layer of rigid insulation outside of the building. So now we're to the sheathing. Many projects are OSB sheathing instead of CDX plywood. Some manufacturers don't warrant their product applied to OSB sheathing, so you need to look at that. You need to, as a contractor, understand it. As a building envelope consultant or architect, they should have that savvy and know, but they don't always go to that level of focus. So you need to know what product you're applying it to. You have fluid applied, you have self-adhered, and you have mechanically attached, or basically your three main options. I always try to stay away from the mechanically attached. I've gone to jobs and come back on a Monday and a third of the wall is flapping in the breeze. It's just torn to shreds from the wind. So all those staples are now the holes are a lot bigger. And then the contractor's not paid to do it twice, so he goes up there rapidly and tries to put it back on, and he's got reverse laps at some transitions, okay? Everything has to be installed in a weather-borne manner, shingle flat fashion. So your raincoat goes out over your rain pants. Your rain pants go over your boots. Now you're watertight. You tuck your boots into your pants into your boots, and you tuck your coat into your pants, you're going to get wet. Okay. So that's how I think like a raindrop. Okay. So the building envelope assembly at the exterior sheathing is really, that's your most critical. That's your final line of defense against water into the building. And I don't want to mention the M word here, but if you want to have that kind of a growth, you need water, a food source, and temperature. The building creates the temperature, Mother Nature creates the water, and if it's not done right, it gets into the OSB sheathing, the paper, the gypsum, or Dins glass, or whatever, and you start getting that microbial growth. There, I said it that way. Okay?
All right, that sounds better.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, that was great. Appreciate that. David, moving on to you.
Sure.
So, architects, you have a lot of experience working with these guys and helping them achieve their goals, right?
Correct.
Architects are more and more taking things off of their liability and getting delegated designs, bringing in manufacturers and so forth. Explain to me, if an architect has got the right team, the right manufacturer, and they hire a general contractor, and the general contractor selects a specialty WRB installing contract to install your product, that's not qualified, right? That's not vetted, that hasn't done it before. What are the risks that that project has?
Oh, extremely high. Extremely high. And, you know, we've seen all those scenarios, exactly what you're talking about. We work with the architects. We go in and help them with their design on their facility. You know, there's a couple of things you want to know. You want to know, when is it intended to be installed, number one. You know, we get in there, everybody has good intentions. Yeah. We're going to do it during the good weather. Well, a lot of times it gets pushed back into the bad weather. And so that might change how we do a system. And the contractor, the actual installer of the WRB, if he doesn't understand what the concept of the specification that we worked with the architect or the consultant, he causes himself nothing but problems and then tries to put it on us as a manufacturer a lot of the times. So what I always do is I want to meet with that contractor. I want to meet with that installer and ask them simple questions. You know, have you done this before? Have you used self-adhered products before? Have you used liquid products before? Do you understand the importance of shedding the water with no backwater lap so it goes all the way down the wall? So as Jeff said, when it gets behind that, the products that are protecting it, you know, where's the water going to go? Is it going to go all the way down? Is it going to hit a backwater lap? So the architectural community, they understand the concept. What'll happen is then it goes out to bid, and Jeff had brought it up, VE in a project. They're a value engineer. We got to get something cheaper. We don't have unlimited funds. We need to, make it the best product we can for the consumer with the budgets allowed. I'll be honest with you, there's sometimes I'll walk away from it because I know where they're going to go. They want to go to a mechanically attached. They're not trying to put in a good protective air barrier system for their buildings. As Jeff said, it's very important to protect the inside of that project. So once we've met with them, like we did with you when we first met.
That's right.
We went through all the products, how they go on, what are the pitfalls and everything else in installing these self-adhered products. Because there's a general contractor that, and I'm not going to say it on here about how our product sticks. So once you get it on the wall and it's set up, it ain't coming off.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to come off. So you just can't remove it and then reset it. You have to come in and then work backwards and try to eliminate the backwater laps and the problems that it could cause. We run into a lot of situations where we talk about the transition from our air barriers to waterproofing. So you got waterproofing on the project that's a non-Suprema product. You know, how do we make that transition so we get that water shedding? That's probably one of the biggest obstacles that we have, is to make those transitions. Our products are seamless, they're compatible. But we understand other products are being used. So we work with them, but we only can accept as a manufacturer so much liability. So you try to get that to the contractor, the actual installer, and letting them understand and have an open dialogue with that contractor. like we did.
We had a crazy one. I
Yeah.
mean, we had that building, and every single the building is a big box, right? And
Right.
then every single floor, it's getting smaller, so it's catching more and more water on each deck. And we transitioned from Tremco,
Right.
from the base of wall to
Yep.
underground,
Right.
and then we transitioned from hot rubber,
Hot rubber.
all of that was also an issue, and then we transitioned from the Carlisle.
The roof on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the roof, and I mean, sealants, products, primers, you name it, man. We were out there meeting every week.
Well, we had wet OSB, I think, on those projects and
Yep.
stuff. So, yeah, I mean, there are certain products that are not compatible with other products.
Yep.
You know, you get into the top of the wall for high temp if you're running a TPO or another type of product, or even some PVCs are not with asphalt. They're non-compatible. So you need to figure out how to make that transition. Right now, you know, like where we make that transition to TPO, I always tell them, I said, what's the TPO manufacturer? Well, we can't do it. Okay, what do you want me to tell you then? I'll agree with the manufacturer that we can't make that transition with asphalt products, say asphalt products primarily. Like our high temps or our 1100T, some of the SBS adhesives that we have, that you can't make that transition. They can't come in contact with each other. And I remember on that job, yeah, we were out there quite a bit out there on that project. Yeah. But it was wet OSB too.
It was the
I
middle
mean,
of the-
they didn't put the roof on. They wanted the WRB
Yeah.
before the roof was
Yeah.
on, and everything was wet. And I'm just like, oh man,
Yeah.
come on, folks.
Another day in my life.
Yeah. Oh.
It's every day for me.
You know, and it's I can imagine on your end where you try to explain, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, we come in there and try to explain, and it's frustrating. You know, I've had so many general contractors push on the subcontractor so hard to get this done, where I got to come in and draw the line in the sand and say, no, he cannot do this with our products. You know, there's other ways to do it. Well, we don't have budgeted for that. Well, you shouldn't have VE'd the SBS roof then.
Let me hire this guy. He says he can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
know, so it is frustrating, you know, and we offer a lot of good products. You know, we cover, again, 6 sides of the building, from the waterproofing, the air barriers, the hot rubber, the SBS, the PVC. We provide all that. And all our products are compatible with each other to make those transitions. To, you know, instead of having this warranty from this manufacturer and this warranty from this manufacturer, you have one manufacturer that covers all the products. And that's what we really, really try to promote. You know, we've done it on a couple of projects now in Portland. One of them was a Hyatt project. We did all the air barriers, we did the waterproofing, and we did the SBS because they understood how important it was. That's a joy to
Yeah.
deal with those kind of people.
So the vision, Pacific Construction Solutions, is a envelope GC, right? We're the authority in the envelope. The vision is the below grade waterproofing, the wall assemblies, all the fenestration, the complete shell,
Sure.
the roof, the TPO. We have experience in every single one of those.
Mm-hmm.
How valuable would it be for one contractor to partner up with one manufacturer on the exterior envelope, all 6 sides?
Extremely, extremely important. We really like to work with the contractors that can do multiple areas of the building envelope, either be it roofing and air barriers or roofing and waterproofing, and then have an air barrier contractor come in there. But it's really, really important because at that point, that installer has the knowledge of what needs to be done where, and the sequencing, and you know, all the other issues that come up, and it's very important. You know, I mean,
Let me
that's-
throw out, the other thing is you have this. You have one finger to point at one manufacturer.
Yes.
Okay, so you have what we call a single source manufacturer on that envelope. So we don't have to bring Suprema in with these other manufacturers for below grade and roofing. If you can put Suprema products on all sides of the building, you have one manufacturer, single source warranty. Now, the waterproofing warranty is different warranty than the air barrier warranty, different than the roofing warranty, or the overburden warranty if you're going to put a green roof on top of that waterproofing membrane on the roof, which Suprema also has Sopernature. So we can do an entire assembly, including the green roof, and still have single source manufacturers. So you call David, you call Jeff, we come out there and we address whatever those issues are. If you bring in 4 people, you're pointing like this, and everyone's blaming the other guy.
All
Okay.
4 manufacturers and all 4 subcontractors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other thing it does is it's a GC that's on the clock to get the job done under their general conditions that they have budgeted on the job. I used to be a GC. I would have a 26-week job or an 18-week job. Every week it was costing me X thousands of dollars to be on site for the trailer, the porta potty, the fencing, the temporary stuff to put it together. Those never change until you take them off site and you're done. So if you start wrestling with 2 or 3 different manufacturers and 2 or 3 different subcontractors, that job is slowed down, and now the GC is taking a hit, whether you're working for one of the big GCs or if you're acting as the GC on some of these projects yourself, you're taking that hit. So the more you can eliminate these other problems, your risk
Management.
mitigation is to eliminate all these other options, okay? Bring in a building envelope consultant when you can. They're going to put the details together that the architect doesn't normally spend the time to detail. Or come to somebody like us. We have customizable details on our website that you can download and you can take and go with those. We have specifications that you can start with our specifications to help you build the project all the way through.
Tell us about your organization and how you could help these projects and what kind of services you could offer if somebody wanted to partner with you and take all 6 sides. How does that look?
So first, since we didn't really describe this, Suprema was founded in 1908 in France. We now have the 3rd CEO, which is the great grandson of the founder of the company, as our CEO. It's family owned. So their interest is what they want, not some stockbroker or board of directors telling them what to do. If they want to focus on eco-friendly smog reducing granule for our SBS roofing, they do that, and we have. It's family owned, 117 years old.
17-year-old.
Okay, global, international company. So we have over 10,000 collaborators. There's 10,000 of us. Think of the knowledge you can pull from. If we don't have an answer, we go back to corporate. If corporate doesn't answer, we can go up to Canada, we can go back to France and get all these answers. So we add a lot of value, and we actually answer our phone and return emails in the same day. I had somebody yesterday thank me. He goes, I can't believe it. You emailed me, and then you called me to follow up to make sure I got your email. I don't ever get that level of care from a manufacturer. I really appreciate it. And you're welcome. That's our gig. We're here to help you build successful projects, because then you're going to want to call us back. Same with the architects. We try to get into their specs and help them with the spec writing. And it's in a CSI format, so it's nothing abstract. And we can just reduce it down to what level you need to and provide details. And then we have all the technical support back in corporate. So
Technical letters.
warranties, notice of intents to warrant, all that stuff, submittals. We're high on pre-con meetings like you're talking about with David. You want to do that stuff up front in the beginning, which will make for a successful application if you have all the parties there. Okay?
And I don't think, nobody has bad intentions. I don't think,
Nope. Yep.
I don't think there's anybody in this industry that says, listen, we're going to bid this job and we're going to make their lives miserable. I don't think that's the plan. But when you have a pre-con, which is very important, and you have 4 different people doing 4 different parts of the envelope, are those 4 people passing that information on to the actual installers that are out in the field? We see it over and over and over again. Well, we talked about this at the pre-con. Oh, I didn't let my guys know.
Yep.
Oh, I talked, so if you get one contractor we just deal with one person, it just makes the job go a lot smoother. You understand the pitfalls. I mean, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So being a contractor and installer and on all those different aspects of products, do you like dealing with, say, 4 different manufacturers at one time or one manufacturer at one time? What makes your life more simple?
well, I gotta go get the compatible sealants. So I got a sealant manufacturer. Then I gotta go talk to the window guy to see how the window fits, and then the SAM. Sometimes I'll get a WRB manufacturer with the SAM manufacturer.
Yeah.
So it just, I mean, the most people I've had at a mock-up was like 15 people.
Yeah. Window test, a window manufacturer, everybody else is there. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, and then like gathering them all in, and like, come on, guys, let's all come together. I got David here, and then I got the sealant guy here, and then because I'm not a designer,
Yeah.
I'm not an architect,
Right.
I'm not a consultant. I do the work.
Right.
I'm a builder.
Right.
I will assemble it. I'm looking to you to tell me how it's done,
Right.
and I don't make any of those calls.
You're responsible for it all.
You're
though.
responsible for it all.
And I have
yeah.
the biggest risk. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, we issue a warranty to it, but I mean, so then the product failure or something comes back on
It's
our
not
side.
$2
but
million
the
bucks.
Yeah, the installer is the one who's going to be responsible.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a lot easier. I mean, we have been successful with entire envelopes on the building, and it's gone really great. The problem would be, again, when you're having a pre-con and you're dealing with different people, that information doesn't filter down. Where if you're dealing with one contractor and it works out good, and that information filters down, and then you get history. You understand. Okay, we've done this job. Like that other one that we did with all the wet OSB and everything. I mean, it just blew my mind that general contractor said, no, we're not going to put the roof on first. We want the air barriers done. And I was just,
I had to fight tooth and nail. And,
okay, good luck.
And
We make great products, but we make great products in a controlled environment. Once they're put out here and you're not following the correct sequence, that's your problem.
yeah. I mean, piggybacking on that, what are the most widely misunderstood risks by architects and owners, when they're partnering with a GC about the envelope?
So again, we got to go back to the transitions. The transitions from one product to another. Not all products are all 100% compatible with every manufacturer in their systems, but the transitions are so critical. The sealants are critical, like Jeff said. Like some of our products, we can use it as an air seal inside the window with an expandable foam. We can use all those products. We manufacture STPE. What's compatible with STPE? STPE.
Yep.
But we integrate our STPE liquid applied. Also, we use some of our STPE liquid applied with our self-adhered sheets. So again, I mean, the pitfalls are all the connections with the windows, the other manufacturer. You've got this manufacturer, you've got that manufacturer. That's where the biggest pitfalls that I see, and especially in the architects when you try to explain to them. Now, they'll put out a document, as you well know, to bid.
Yep.
So when they did the initial design and the building's built, how often is that initial design what's in the building?
Very rare.
Very rare.
Very rare.
So that's where we kind of help run interference. I mean, you did a project for one of the GCs that uses a lot of Suprema products, and they were very educated on how to install our products with you on a project. Even I think they worked with you guys, RDF, I think it was, and I mean they know what the pitfalls are. They've seen it. They use the products, and they help with you as the installer on those projects. We were out there numerous times.
And those relationships are great.
Yeah.
Like that's doing it right.
Right.
That's getting everybody with the common goal and identifying these and like, look, we want to do this right.
Right. And that's what I enjoy with working with your company is that for you to do this, that tells us that you have your best interest and our best interest. As a manufacturer, that's one of your concerns. And so that's why you partner with these manufacturers, because you understand those practices and systems that we use. You understand all that now.
Yeah, alignment is huge.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's only in your best interest to have a quality building with your product. It's only my best interest to have a quality, like to not do things wrong, because I'm not going to be in business very long.
Right.
This small industry, word travels quick. Can you name? You don't have to say them out loud. Can you name off a couple of contractors that don't do quality work? I mean, like, think about it. What comes to your mind? I mean, they just pop in.
So yeah, we've had roofing contractors say, air barrier contractors, when
Yeah.
you walk away and you shake your head. I mean, I'm not going to say their names, but you're just going like, oh man.
Tell me what happened.
I used to have, in litigations, doing construction defect litigation, a contractor said, well, I've been doing it this way for 20 years. And
I
I'm
love
like,
that word.
yes, can you give me the last 5 jobs you worked on recently?
We want to chase them down.
They're horrible. Contractors aren't always good, but they're always consistent. Okay, so if they're bad, they're consistently bad.
Oh man.
And yes, I have several names in my head. I won't.
Yeah,
mention.
we're not going to mention, but then, you know,
But I want to understand why. Like,
what happened.
Yeah, why? What are they doing? How are they not controlling their site? What risk are they overlooking? What do they not care about that is causing them to have a bad reputation in your mind? Like, how would you define that?
Oh man, you know, one of the big ones that we always talk about is reverse laps.
Yeah.
Right? And just because you think it's okay doesn't mean it's okay. You know, we try to do everything we can. We had projects where there were so many reverse laps on it, or they'll come in and they'll put in a 3-inch hole for a 3-inch pipe, but the hole's 6 inches.
Yeah.
I mean, just stuff like that, and how to. So it's like, oh, I'll just put some metal and put some flashing compound around it and call it a day. Well, instead of checking with our technical or with us to figure out how to actually do it, you know, some people just don't care. And I know who those contractors are, and I just don't deal with them. I mean, I just, it's not worth the headache, to be honest with you. Let somebody else teach them a little bit better, you know. The other issue is pricing.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants the cheapest price of the
That was
materials.
going to be my comment. Is it's
Yeah.
the bottom line.
The bottom line.
Why
yeah.
are they cheap or why are they shortcuts? Because they're trying to catch up on the schedule. They're behind. They had a weather delay, a permit delay, an inspection delay, a product delay. It doesn't matter.
Shortcuts.
Manpower delay. It doesn't matter. Now they're playing catch up. And the bottom line, the guy in the office, the bean counter, is looking at margins. So I don't care. Get it done. I need it done. That's just horrible. One thing I was supposed to tell you right off the get-go is Joshua says hi, Bill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love Joshua.
So we have field technicians that
This guy's
are,
Joshua's a wizard, by the way. I just want to put that in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
He's an absolute wizard.
And we have more of those wizards
Install
out in the field. So not only do
efficiency?
you have us
Oh,
as
man.
sales reps and architectural sales rep, but then you have the field techs that go out there and they don't care how much product we sell. They want to make sure it's done right per our instructions.
Oh, we argue
per code.
sometimes. We'll go
Yeah.
we'll go to battle with them too. And you're fortunate because in the town of Aurora is our newest inspector.
All right.
Now, his name's Jason Ford. Jason, he will, he's learning more about waterproofing and air barriers with Joshua. He's doing, he's getting his IBEX certification and stuff to get into those fields. So he will be a resource for us, and he lives right across the river from me and
For me too.
yeah, for
Down
good
the road
job, too.
from you.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's so, and he was hired specifically for my territory, Oregon and Southwest Washington. That's his job.
Perfect.
He does the inspection. So Joshua worked with him. We were back at our national sales meeting here a couple of weeks ago. You know, he's reacting with our air barrier guys and our waterproofing guys, all the tech guys, because we've got those kind of people all the way across the U.S. that specialize in waterproofing and air barriers. So the more you can meet with them and talk to them and grab some of those little tidbits of information, and Jason's good at that. So there'll be a time when Jason will be able to do that. But right now it's going to be Josh Warner out of North Seattle. He comes down. But yeah, Josh, he's a wealth of knowledge.
So I always say is we want to have the lowest price at the end of the project.
Right.
Right. That's our goal. You know, I mean, if you want a quality sweater, you're going to have to pay a little bit more
Yeah.
up front, right? I mean, it does nobody any good to put up the cheapest price and then get hit with change orders or supplement that guy or have that guy fail
Right.
and just put your head in the sand.
I always say this to the contractors who are installing it. You know, it's cheaper to do it correct the first time.
The first time, yeah.
Because if you don't, we're going to have to come back, or Joshua's going to come back and say, no, that's wrong. Now you got to, fix it. You didn't ask the question, or you just chose to ignore it.
And I've
And
never
just
met
do
an estimator that puts double the labor in because they know their guys are going to do it wrong the
Yeah.
first time. So you're upside down all of a sudden, okay? Bill, the other thing I'll tell you in my years of wisdom, going from a GC to a consultant is some of the best jobs are the jobs you never got, okay? I found out from other competitors, I was so mad I didn't get this condo job. And then I find out later, they had to lean a couple of the units. They had to reduce their retention to 5% instead of 10% to take it and get away from the job and get their money to move on to the next thing. So it's not always, there was 20 bidders and I'm low bidder, yay. If there's 20 bidders, you don't want to be low bidder.
That's right.
You've left something out most likely. So you want to negotiate it. You want to work with industry partners like us, with you, and with certain consultants we know of that will help put a preferred list of contractors together with the right products, which tees you up for a successful job versus the low budget, the value engineering, the cheapest of cheapest, and then fast hurry up and get it done, and you're getting sued.
That's spot on.
And you go back to Billy, I mean the products and the contractors and who we dealt with or worked with. Like I said earlier, I've walked away from projects. Was it in my best interest, being how my pay structure is? No, probably wasn't. Lost a little bit of money. Is it in Suprema's best interest for me to walk away from? You bet it was, because it wasn't right. It wasn't going to be right, and it was going to cause more problems than what it was worth. Sometimes you need to walk away.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, Nate is our director of marketing and pre-construction, and I mean, we're trying to get the word out, saying, look, if you wanna cut corners, if you wanna hide, you wanna be ignorant, you wanna put your head in their sand, like, we're the wrong contractor.
Right. Yeah. And we're the wrong manufacturer
And
for that.
let's identify that early.
Yeah.
That's
Again, you got there's sometimes
Waste
it's
our
better
times.
to walk away. And sometimes it's better to walk away. Like you said, the best jobs
So
the
the
ones
best
you
jobs
didn't
are the
get.
ones you never got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've told people look at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then after they think about it, and after I explain a few things, they're like, yeah. I mean, all my competitors now as a consultant aren't my competitors anymore. They're taking me fishing or to a Blazer game or whatever because they want my business. So now I'm reviewing their bids. I've been through the spectrum and seen a lot and heard a lot. Yeah. So align yourself with good people, with good products. Suprema has a phenomenal
Somebody you could trust.
line of products for the entire building envelope, and we're here to help service your needs.
I think we touched on it a little bit, but how important is it to have a backbone, right? To not be pushed around by a tough superintendent that needs to meet schedule and just say, look, I need to get things right. I'm going to call Josh. We're going to do it. I mean, I find that that's where a lot of the failures arise.
Right.
It's not like you said, nobody has bad intentions.
No.
It's just we don't know how to deal with this weather circumstance. We don't know how to deal with this transition. And they're getting pushed from their boss in the office, the bean counter, and they're getting pushed from the GC, and they're getting pushed from the owner, and they're really in a bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a backbone. I mean, there's been many times where you have to run an end around. I've done it, where I'll go to the architect or I'll go to the consultant on the project, say, this is what's going on. It's not my place to tell the GC or the installer on his business what he's doing or how he's doing it. Mine is the install of the products. So, but when I see when they put up that wall, they put up their hand, I don't want to hear it. I've been doing it this way for 20 years. Then you got to go and end around and just say, listen, and then they'll come back and they'll say, well, who did you talk to? You had to go talk to him, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I did. And these are the reasons why. You said stop. You didn't want to hear it, so I have to go around you. And it's just what you have to do in this industry. If you don't, they're going to walk all over you. Not only the installers, but the GCs. Architects, not so much. Consultants, not so much. But the architects and the GCs. I mean, I've been on a project with a big general contractor in Portland and threw a fit and pounded his fist, and I'm going, whoa, wait a minute here. That was off the wall. Meeting's done, we walk out. I'm sorry, David, I had to do that to prove a point to everybody else. I don't want to direct it towards you. I directed that towards everybody else, knowing that we have a good relationship with this general contractor. But again, he had the backbone to stomp his fist on the desk in the middle of the meeting, said, this is unacceptable. This needs to be straightened out. and walks out. So it does happen.
Yeah.
It does
and-
happen.
And
Yeah.
Bill, I was going to say the best thing you do is align yourself with teams that
Yeah.
have the same morals and ethics and values and want to build it right, want to be proud of their work, and at the end of the day, you're a cohesive community of builders, contractors, consultants, manufacturers, reps, and installers, and you get all the same goal working together versus that superintendent that's going to scream and yell louder, because if he screams and yells louder, people will listen to him. I've had a point or two in my days as a superintendent where I tried to yell, and they basically said, you know what, until you change your attitude, we're leaving this site.
Yeah.
And it made me realize, oh, you get more attraction by being sweet than you
Sweet
do by
than
being
being
sour.
sour.
You get more benefit. People are will come over and deliver a product to you that isn't available right away if you're saying, please, if you're yelling at me, where's my damn product? We might not care that much, okay? No, we
Click.
do care. But you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, alignment is huge.
Alignment.
Is huge,
Yeah.
and building that story and painting that picture, saying, "Look, I'm here to serve you, not fight you."
Yeah.
And in order to do that, even though you disagree with me, it's my job to influence you otherwise.
Yep.
So I agree with that.
Billy asked about the architects, consultants. I mean, when we sit down and help them put their specifications together, put their details, and we explain how the whole system would go together, architects do take an interest sometimes, I guess, on job sites. They will come out and they'll go, wait a minute, what's wrong with this? And the guy goes, oh, the rep said I could do that. Then they'll call you. And so, what are you talking about? I go, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said he could do a backwater, lap water, whatever it was,
Yeah.
no. So, we work really good with the architects and the consultants in the specifying community because we try to explain the entire system on from the top to the bottom, and then even to the waterproofing and then to the roof. We're more on the WRB stuff today, but we really, really try to make it clear and give them samples and either pictures and samples and details, everything that we can provide to them to help them understand, to make the job go as easy as possible. That's the intent. Again, nobody has bad intentions at the beginning.
That's right. Yeah.
It all depends what happened the night before.
Oh, when you got 25 people throwing up material,
Yeah.
you got to control that. And
Yeah.
that's got to be almost militant.
Yeah.
And everybody's got to be aligned.
You
Yep.
have to. It's just too important to cut corners and, they said I was supposed to do it this way, but I did it that way. And they don't understand the reasoning why they want it done as per specified. So, yeah, it's really important.
So Jeff,
Yes, sir.
you told me you have a vast experience in every aspect of this, and I want to know who owns the risk of building failure. Right? We have a lot of parties. We have a consultant. We have an architect. We have an owner.
Yep.
Probably a developer, a GC, a building envelope installer, a subcontractor, possibly multiple subcontractors.
Well, you have window sub, you have siding sub,
Yeah.
you have the
Caulking.
landscaper,
Yeah.
and you have the gutter, because the landscaper actually throws water onto your building.
Sure.
The gutter guy holds water up there, and because they're part of the envelope, they get brought into what I call the shotgun blast for litigation cases.
Okay, I want you to explain how this works because this is a misunderstood.
Yeah.
Okay. So
This is a misunderstood subject.
So a developer builds a condo, and after he sells out so many units, he transitions it over to an HOA. So now you have an ownership, and that developer is moving away. The developer probably hired a general contractor. The general contractor hired all the subcontractors, and that owner also hired that architect and or envelopes, okay? So once the architect's out of the equation, now the HOA becomes the ownership entity, and if there's a leak 5 years later, you think you're done because you have a 2-year warranty. You're not done. There's between 10 and 7 years of statute of ultimate repose to come after all the people that did the work between Oregon and Washington, different time frames. So you're all on the hook, everyone. And the shotgun blast I refer to is, hey, let's list the landscaper on there because maybe he'll give us $20,000 to get out of the case. Let's list the gutter guy because The gutter might be leaking. It runs downspouts and dumps right next to the building. And we can list the gutter guy. We can list the roofer. It's not a roof leak. It's a wall leak. But they're going to bring everybody into the equation that they can.
Who's they?
The
HOA.
HOA or the owner's attorney, which is a plaintiff attorney, and the consultant that they hire, which used to be me at times,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? So the only ones that win are the attorneys and the consultants. Everybody else loses. The HOA never gets 100% of their monies anymore, and all the subcontractors and general contractor get sued, and then they have to pay a higher insurance because of if they're building condos, if they're building wood frame structures, multifamily projects, those are all high risk, and so they all get brought into these potential claims. You might have built them as apartments, and 5 years later, they flip it to condos. Okay? An apartment has a single building owner. A condo now has all these different owners with an association, and they will be more prone to want to sue somebody than a single owner that owns the building himself. He's maybe going to go after the roofer or the sider to fix some issue, but this entity of the ownership outside of anybody that had anything to do with the building of it, they just hire an attorney, hire a consultant, do the investigations, put the reports together, and then bring it all out there. And everybody, you, this guy, all bring on their attorneys, all bring on their experts. There's a biggest construction defect case in the state of Oregon, I believe, was Collins Lake up at Mount Hood Government Camp. I was in one mediation right before Thanksgiving, and there was probably 200 people in this massive, they opened up 3 different conference rooms. It was like an 80 by 60 room. And there was a mediator, and there was probably 20 or 30 attorneys, and then 30 experts, and then some owners and subcontractors all present in this room. The dollars per hour on that litigation was, I don't even want to think about it. And I'll tell you what happened is they built the buildings, 3-4 story wood frame condos with metal roofs. The snow slides off the roof. The asphalt parking lot gets full of snow, and they plow it off to the landscape areas, and all the snow builds up against the sides of the walls of the building. At the very bottom of that wall is your siding, is your gypsum sheathing with your air barrier on it, and then your OSB plywood, and then your foundation. There was nothing to close off the underside of that, like a little piece of metal flashing, and water was able to wick up that OSB and gyp board 7 feet high behind the siding. You remember I talked about food source, heat, and moisture? Well, that's what happened on that building. It rotted away. It had microbial growth, and they had to reclad the entire exterior of those buildings and structural framing on that.
After they structurally framed,
After they did the repair framing, then they had to put back all the claddings on it, yeah. And it was, I believe, the biggest construction defect litigation case in the state of Oregon. Maybe a piece of flashing that went on the foundation and out and up the wall with the air barrier coming down over it, lapping it in a weatherborne manner, might have stopped that entire problem.
Yeah.
A 5-inch piece of flashing or peel and stick or something. So
The transition.
the transition. And architects aren't going to think about the bottom edge of the siding at where the splash hits off the dirt. You don't think like that
Yeah.
till you've seen it many times like I have.
Yeah.
So
But you've had litigations also where it could be just like one unit and a bad install in the window. Next thing you know, everybody says, well, now you got to check our windows too. Say for the
Yeah.
for the flashing
Yeah.
of the windows and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so it becomes more than just one spot. It just grows out now because everybody in that condo association would be concerned somewhat.
they
about
all
it.
think it could happen to them
Yeah,
too.
and they want to. Well, if that happened there, you need to make sure but mine's not doing it. So now you're ripping off everything. Yeah, no, it's
It's brutal.
I couldn't do what you're doing.
There's 2 condo buildings in a town at the coast. I won't get into it, but a consultant that I worked for, I did the proposal for oversight, and there was a third-party building envelope consultant oversight with an architect with a GC, and all these listed products. They then built the next building right next to it, same footprint. Oh, we don't need
Same, yeah.
an architect.
Yeah.
the GC or we don't need a GC. The developer hired the subs.
Yep.
Most of them were the same, not all. Oh, you know what? Those windows were really expensive. Let's go to a different grade of windows. So they got rid of
At
a
the
couple
coast.
at the coast. They got rid of a couple layers of the protection of the onion. They got rid of a couple of quality products and downgraded it. And then a couple of subs said, no, I'm not going to do this. So then they went out and got cheaper subs to do things. And guess what? That went into a construction defect litigation. And I now was then working for a different consulting firm, and I oversaw the repairs on that. And then I went to work for the GC that wrapped it up at the end after they had
That's
some
where
other
we met.
issues. And yeah, that's where I met at that consultant's firm. So it's all about the right team. What quality do you want? Do you want a Kmart sweater or do you want a Nordstrom sweater? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the bottom line.
Yep.
Teams of quality people with quality products,
Being
quality
cohesive.
installers. You're going to minimize your risk. If you don't, you're going to be in trouble.
And that's what we appreciate about you and your company. Is to bring us in and spend the time to do this. You understand it. You get it. You know, not only CYA, but you get it that what we're trying to do as a manufacturer to support the installers to make sure the owner gets the right products that they're paying for. And I appreciate that, Bill. I really do.
Yeah, the purpose of this is to build a community to
Yeah.
really, really improve the industry as a whole. And I know there's other people that are trying to do that. I know Marty Houston is a really big advocate of that.
Yeah.
Different consultants out there that are really trying to educate and bring out the best. And I know that there's codes that are coming out that exist in Washington that are coming into Oregon.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about
Well,
that?
I mean, Jeff probably knows more about what they're, because he deals a lot up in Washington, the Seattle market. But it seems like we're always behind.
Yeah.
You know, it'll always get up there, and then it kind of works its way down here into Oregon. Yeah, build different building codes. I don't know, are you aware of?
So it all started in Canada,
Yeah.
and then it came down to Washington,
Okay.
and then Washington, then it morphed down to Oregon. So
Tell us about that.
It's the environment. Okay,
Yeah.
you have cold, wet environments, and that's what's promoted a lot of the construction defect issues up north, and then those firms,
Those codes.
consultant firms and attorney firms in Canada started opening up offices in Seattle and chasing the construction defect leads down there. And then those guys kind of moved on down to Oregon as well.
Yeah,
Is that why my insurance is so high?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we in the U.S., how many salespeople does Suprema have? 100 probably in the U.S.?
Yeah, at least 100.
At least 100 in the U.S. And every region is different. What we do in the Northwest is a lot different what they do in California versus Arizona and
Or
New Mexico
Hawaii,
and Nevada and
yeah.
Hawaii. It's totally different.
100%
understand.
humidity, and you know what I mean?
I just-
Well,
not
well,
rated.
see, so Miami has 100% humidity too, but it's 98 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a vapor drive.
And it's cold inside.
problem.
They have a
Yeah.
vapor drive going into the
In the
buildings,
building, yep.
okay? We have heat inside and it's going out of our buildings. So
right.
you have to know your environments and all that. So it's air barrier testing is what's really being driven by energy codes. And so up in Washington, they have whole building air blower test.
Yeah.
And it's very technical. Things have to be sealed.
Yes.
Okay. Down here in Oregon, we're taking on some of these. We're just always catching up with the state of Washington.
Yeah, how many projects have you done where they do an entire building air test?
Oh, 2.
Yeah.
About two.
And my guess it was probably,
Walsh.
yeah. Okay. Well, again, those are the same
Or,
ones I-
or in Vancouver.
Yeah.
That was going to be my guess.
But you're right. I mean, it just, again, it's a different breed of GC that understands what we're trying to do and to make sure the customer gets what they want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. It's the only contractor I've dealt with that's done that.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
I was just going to say the environment is critical because Hawaii, you don't have to have insulation in your walls. You don't have to have air barrier in your walls. Okay, it's 7 degrees difference throughout the seasons. Minnesota, you better have everything dialed in, or else there's going to be frost on the outside of the building from all the moisture drive, vapor drive, going from us humans, our cooking, our showering, all
Eating,
those
all that.
water products turn into molecules, and they go outside to the cold, and they freeze on the outside brick mortar joints. The mortar starts to expand, and your bricks are falling off the building.
Yeah.
You go to the coast, you have salt, wind-driven rain. Now you need a rain screen system with 6-inch up legs instead of 4-inch up legs. Stainless steel flashing, 316 instead of galvanized. Okay, maybe bonderized. So you need to know, you have to be a scientist about each environment you're working in. Up on the mountain, you have ice damming. You can't put gutters in eastern Oregon and Washington because the ice and the snow will tear them off.
Yeah. Up in the
So
hills,
you
yeah.
have to build to your environment. And an architect hired out of Arizona to do a job in Astoria is a bad idea.
Yes.
Okay? So,
Well, I did one of those. I did a job in Gresham where the architect was from California.
Yep.
And there's holes, amenity holes in the roofs, and
Oh,
you know,
my.
and there's deck membranes, and where there were some issues, right?
Yeah.
And those are some of the. I have knowledge now to look at some of these jobs and look at the team and
yeah.
and kind of pass on when I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Sometimes it's better to walk away.
And this is
Probably
several
see-
years ago as we're going up, right? And,
Right.
And I'm hungry for some work, right? We'll do the envelope was great,
Yeah.
but the building had design issues.
Yeah.
And I got dragged in.
And they won't accept, sometimes they won't accept it.
Yeah.
As the architects or whatever, they won't accept the burden of it's
Oh, yeah.
their design. No, it works great everywhere else. Well, yeah, but it wasn't aggression.
Yeah. Well, who pays the bills in litigation? It's insurance companies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Which comes back to you.
which come back
Comes back to everybody that's insured.
which come back to the requirements to sign that job. You need nowadays a $5 million umbrella,
Yeah.
so they could all pick at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we choose to be with, again, I've walked away from people and contractors. I choose
Tough
to
lesson
be,
of mine.
Pardon?
That was a tough lesson of mine.
Yeah, you
to
need
get to
sometimes
this.
walk away.
Yeah.
And it's, we choose to partner with good installers, good general contractors. When a contractor like you will call me up, hey, this so-and-so, and this is the contractor, and I'm going like, oh.
Run.
Okay, yeah, okay. Because we've had the history. I've been around for a long time here in the Portland market. So you understand some of the people that are easier to work with and some of them who are really difficult to work with on the GC side that as a sub, say if you were hired as a sub. So yeah, it's frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here. Some final questions. What is the one thing that a general contractor or a project manager could do on their project to mitigate the most risk? Jeff?
Know the products they're installing and how they're sequenced.
And how about you, David? What's the
VE is not always the answer.
yeah.
The value engineer products out because it's going to be cheaper is not always the correct answer.
Yeah.
And especially considering transitions and other stuff, it's just not worth it sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, we're out of time, but
Excellent.
I mean, this
Awesome.
was absolutely such a stimulating conversation, Jeff. I love talking to you. Sometimes we'll talk on the phone for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh man, I got to get back to
Well,
work.
I'm billing you for that, by the way.
And David, nice to see you again.
You
I
too.
mean, you guys are welcome at our facility at any time, and
Excellent.
I'd love to talk.
drove
envelope.
by it this morning.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you, Bill.
That's a cap. That's
All right.
another episode of Beyond the Envelope. See you, everybody.
Thank you.